Sweetheart, you keep turning over and over. Is something wrong? Can't get yourself to settle down to sleep. Oh. Is there anything I can do to help? You don't know? Well, when I can't sleep, I end up listening to ambiance or something. But when I was really young and spoiled, my mom used to tell me stories to get me to sleep. Do you think that could help? Alright, I'll see if I'm any good at it. Anything particular you want to hear? Something you've never heard before? That's a hard order, but I'll try for your sake. I'm not well versed in them, but there's a few Filipino short stories I read about before. I never knew about them, so maybe you don't either. The first one is the story of Mangita and Larina. Many years ago, there lived on the banks of the Laguna de Bay a poor fisherman whose wife had died, leaving him with two beautiful daughters. Their names were Mangita and Larina. Mangita had hair as black as night and a lovely brown skin. She was as good as she was beautiful, and was loved by all for her kindness. She helped her father mend the nets and make the torches to fish with at night. Her bright smile lit up the Bahay Kubo like a ray of sunshine. Larina was fair and had long golden hair of which she was very proud. She was different from her sister and never helped with the work. Instead, she spent the day combing her hair and catching butterflies. She would catch a pretty butterfly, cruelly stick a pin through it, and fasten it to her hair. Then she would go down to the lake and see the poor butterfly struggling in pain. The people disliked her for her cruelty. In this way, Larina was hated, and Mangita was loved. Over time, Larina grew jealous of this. The more Mangita was loved, the more Larina thought evil of her. One day, a poor old woman came to the Bahay Kubo and begged for a little rice to be put into her bowl. Mangita was mending a net, and Larina was combing her hair in the doorway. When Larina saw the old woman, she spoke mockingly to her and pushed her. This caused the old woman to fall and cut her head on a sharp rock. Mangita sprang up to help the old woman. She washed the blood away from her head and filled her bowl with rice. The poor old woman thanked her and promised never to forget her kindness. But to Larina she spoke not a word. Larina did not care, and instead continued to mock her as the woman painfully made her way down the road. Once the woman was gone, Mangita told Larina aside and chastised her for her cruel treatment of a stranger. However, instead of doing any good, it only caused Larina to hate her sister all the more. Sometime afterwards, their father, the poor fisherman, died. He had gone to the big city down the river to sell his fish, and had been stricken with the terrible sickness that was raging there. The girls were now alone in the world. Mangita carved pretty shells and earned enough to buy food. But though she begged Larina to try to help, her sister would only idle time away. The terrible sickness now swept everywhere, and poor Mangita too fell ill. She asked Larina to nurse her, but Larina was jealous and would do nothing to ease her pain. Mangita grew worse and worse, but finally, when it seemed as if she would die, the door opened, and the old woman whom she had been so kind to came into the room. She had a bag of seeds in her hand. The woman took one of the seeds out and fed it to Mangita, who soon showed signs of getting better. However, Mangita was still too weak to even offer thanks. The old woman then gave the bag to Larina and told her to give a seed to her sister every hour until she returned. She then left, leaving the girls alone again. Larina watched her sister, but did not give her a single seed. Instead, she hid them in her own long hair and paid no attention to Mangita's moans of pain. The poor girl's cries grew weaker and weaker, but her cruel sister never would give her a seed. Larina was so jealous that she wished her sister to die. When at last the old woman returned, poor Mangita was at the brink of death. The woman bent over the sick girl and then asked her sister if she had given Mangita the seeds. Larina showed her the empty bag and said she had given them as directed. The old woman searched the house, but of course she could not find the seeds. She then asked Larina again if she had given them to Mangita. Again the cruel girl said she had done so. Suddenly the room was filled with a blinding light, and when Larina could see once more, in the place of the old woman stood a beautiful-looking fairy, holding now a well Mangita in her arms. The fairy pointed to Larina and said, "I am the poor woman who asked for rice. I wish to know your hearts. You were cruel, and Mangita was kind, so she shall live with me on my island home in the lake. As for you, because you tried to do evil to your sister, you shall sit at the bottom of the lake forever, combing out the seeds you have hidden in your hair." Then she clapped her hands, and a number of elves appeared and carried the struggling Larina away. "Come," said the fairy to Mangita. The fairy carried Mangita to her beautiful home, where Mangita lives in peace and happiness. As for Larina, she sits at the bottom of the lake and combs her hair. As she combs a seed out, another comes in, and every seed that is combed out becomes a green plant that floats out of the lake and down the Pasig. And to this day, people can see them and know that Larina is being punished for her wickedness. How do you feel about that story? For me, it feels similar to stories I've heard before, but at the same time, the story's still distinct. The morals are very obvious, but I still like it. Though, being half Filipino, I'm probably biased. Would you like another one? Alright, let me think. I got one. This is the story of the monkey and the turtle. A monkey, looking very sad and dejected, was walking along the bank of the river one day when he met a turtle. "How are you?" asked the turtle, noticing that he looked sad. The monkey replied, "Oh, my friend, I am very hungry. The squash of Mr. Farmer were all taken by the other monkeys, and now I am about to die." "Do not be discouraged," said the turtle. "Take a bowl and follow me. We will steal some banana plants." So they walked along together until they found some nice plants, which they dug up, and then they looked for a place to plant them. Eventually, the monkey climbed a tree and planted his in it, but the turtle could not climb. He dug a hole in the ground and set his there. When their work was finished, they went away, planning what they should do with their crop. The monkey said, "When my tree bears fruit, I shall sell it and have a great deal of money." And the turtle said, "When my tree bears fruit, I shall sell it and buy 3 varas of cloth to wear in place of this cracked shell." A few weeks later, they went back to the place to see their plants and found that the monkey's was dead, for its roots had no soil. However, the turtle's was tall and bearing fruit. "I will climb to the top so we can get the fruit," said the monkey. And he sprung up the tree, leaving the poor turtle on the ground alone. "Please, give me some to eat," called the turtle. But the monkey threw him only a green one, and ate all the ripe ones for himself. When he had eaten all the good bananas, the monkey stretched his arms around the tree and went to sleep. The turtle, seeing this, was very angry, and considered how he might punish the thief. Having decided on a scheme, he gathered some sharp bamboo, which he struck all around under the tree, and then he exclaimed, "Crocodile is coming! Crocodile is coming!" The monkey was so startled at the cry that he fell upon the sharp bamboo, and was killed. Then the turtle cut the dead monkey into pieces, put salt on it, and dried it in the sun. The next day he went to the mountains and sold his meat to the other monkeys, who gladly gave him squash in return. As he was leaving them, he called back, "Lazy fellows, you are now eating your own body. You are now eating your own body." And then the monkeys ran and caught him and carried him to their own home. "Let us take a hatchet," said one old monkey, "and cut him into very small pieces." But the turtle laughed and said, "That is just what I like. I've been struck by a hatchet many times. Do you not see the black scars on my shell?" Then one of the other monkeys said, "Let us throw him into the water." At this the turtle cried and begged them to spare his life, but they paid no heed to his pleadings and threw him into the water. He sank to the bottom, but very soon came up with a lobster. The monkeys were greatly surprised at this and begged him to tell them how to catch lobsters. "I tied one end of a string around my waist," said the turtle. "To the other end of the string I tied a stone so that I would sink." The monkeys immediately tied strings around themselves as the turtle said. When all was ready, they plunged into the water, never to come up again. And to this day, monkeys do not like to eat meat because they remember this ancient story. I suppose the story is a little morbid, but stories like that are pretty much a universal concept. At least if you look beyond the child-proof versions of stories. Though maybe stories like that aren't as good at bedtime. Sorry. Sweetheart? Have you already fallen asleep? I guess it really did work. Look at you all snuggled up next to me, drifting away at last. Adorable. Well, for my own sake, I'll tell another one quickly. It would be awful to end on such a bad note, and even though you're asleep, maybe the story will reach you in your dreams. One day, a man who had been gathering coconuts began loading them onto his horse. On his way home, he met a boy and asked him how long it would take to reach the village. The boy glanced at the very large load of coconuts on the horse and then answered, "If you go slowly, you will arrive very soon, but if you go fast, it will take you all day." The man was confused by the boy's strange speech, so he hurried his horse. Doing this, however, caused some of his coconuts to fall off, and so he had to stop and pick them up. After doing so and settling back on his horse, he began to hurry the animal once again to make up for lost time. But once again, the coconuts tumbled down. Many times he repeated this process of picking up the coconuts, only to hurry his horse and cause them to fall over again and again, never learning his lesson. Due to this, night had already fallen upon the land before he even reached his village. The end. Much shorter and far more lighthearted. Maybe I should have started out with that one. Oh well, what's done is done. God, I think I finally tired myself out. And you've been far into dreamland already, sweetheart. I'll see you in the morning, dearest. And you can tell me if I'm any good as a storyteller, for I would gladly calm you down to sleep any night if you wish it.